I was 22 when my parents decided I no longer belonged in their house. Not because I was a criminal. Not because I had dropped out of school. Not because I had done anything unforgivable. But because, in my father's words, I was just wasting space. It happened on a Sunday. Quiet house, coffee brewing, sunlight through the kitchen window. The kind of day where nothing feels wrong until everything breaks at once. My dad sat at the dining table with a folder. My mom stood beside him. My sister Mia sat across from them, smiling like she had already won something. I thought maybe someone got a promotion. Maybe we were talking about finances. Maybe it was just another family meeting. I was wrong. My dad cleared his throat. We've made a decision, he said. My mom nodded. Mia leaned forward, excited. We're giving Mia $1 million, my dad continued, to start her dream business. For a second, I didn't react. $1 million. It didn't feel real. Then Mia spoke, her voice bright and confident. I've been planning it for months. A boutique lifestyle brand, clothing, skincare, curated home products, premium branding, influencer partnerships. It's going to be huge. My parents looked proud, not hopeful, certain, like her success was already guaranteed. I forced a smile. That's amazing, I said. Congratulations. Thank you, she said, glowing. Silence filled the room. Then my dad turned to me. And everything shifted. And you, he said flatly, need to start figuring out your life. I blinked. I am figuring it out, I replied. I've been working, saving, applying. You drift, he interrupted. The word hit harder than I expected. Drift. Like I had no direction. No purpose. No value. My mom spoke softly. You're 22. It's time to move out. I stared at her. You're serious. My dad folded his hands. You're wasting space here. You have no plan. No ambition. No urgency. I felt heat rising in my chest. You're giving her $1 million, I said slowly, and telling me to leave. This isn't about money, Mia said quickly. It feels exactly about money. Dad's voice hardened. Mia has vision. She has drive. She knows what she wants. And I don't. You float, he said. You wait for life to happen instead of building it. That was the moment something inside me cracked. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just quietly. Like a piece breaking off and falling into silence. I looked around the room. My home. The place I grew up. The place where I thought I belonged. No one defended me. No one said stay. No one said we'll help. They just watched. Waiting. I stood up. Okay, I said. Mom frowned. Okay, I'll leave. Dad didn't react. Mia shifted uncomfortably. I went upstairs, packed 2 bags, and left that night. No hugs. No goodbyes. Just the sound of the front door closing behind me. And that was it. I didn't have enough savings for an apartment. Didn't have friends I could stay with long term. Didn't have a backup plan. So I slept in my car. The first night felt unreal. The seat wouldn't recline all the way. The air was cold. Every noise outside made me tense. I stared at the ceiling and replayed the conversation over and over. You're wasting space. The words echoed in my head until they stopped hurting. And then something else replaced the pain. Determination. If I was wasting space, I'd build a life where every inch mattered. The next few months were brutal. I worked nights unloading trucks at a warehouse. Heavy lifting, long hours, low pay. During the day, I sat in coffee shops using free Wi-Fi, trying to build something. Anything. I had always been good with systems. Organization, logistics. I started offering help to small local businesses. Inventory tracking, shipping coordination, cost optimization. At first, no one replied. Emails ignored, calls unanswered, days blurred together. I ate cheap, slept in parking lots, showered at a gym using a trial membership. There were nights I questioned everything. Nights I almost drove back home. But pride kept me moving. So did anger. Not loud anger, cold anger. The kind that turns into fuel. 3 months in, a small warehouse owner finally replied. Fine, come in, show me what you've got. I spent 6 hours reviewing his processes. Found inefficiencies, waste, shipping delays, inventory mismanagement. I created a plan. Simple, clear, actionable. He implemented it. Saved thousands in the first month. He paid me $500. 500. It felt like $1 million. That one job changed everything. He told another business owner. Then another. Then another. Slowly, work started coming in. Not enough to live comfortably. But enough to survive. And survival was all I needed. Meanwhile, Mia's business launched. Her Instagram exploded. Professional photos, luxury branding, influencers posting her products. My mom shared every update. Proud of my daughter. My dad told relatives. She's going to be huge. No one mentioned me. Not once. I didn't expect them to. Still hurt. But I kept working. Year 1 passed. Then year 2. I saved enough to rent a tiny studio apartment. No furniture. Just a mattress on the floor and a folding table. But it was mine. And that mattered. I worked harder. Studied operations, marketing, finance, negotiation. I made mistakes. Expensive ones. Learned quickly. Adapted faster. By year 3, I registered my business officially. No investors, no loans, no family support, just long nights and stubborn persistence. I hired my first employee. Marcus, quiet, reliable, hungry to succeed. We worked side by side, building systems, landing clients, fixing broken businesses, one at a time. Meanwhile, Mia's brand started showing cracks. Late shipments, customer complaints, overspending, beautiful image, weak foundation. I noticed, because operations is everything, and she didn't understand operations. By year 4, my company grew fast. Regional clients, bigger contracts, more staff, more pressure. I moved into a small house. Nothing fancy, but peaceful. I could breathe there. For the first time in years. I wasn't surviving, I was living, and that's when my phone rang. Mom, first time in nearly 2 years. Her voice sounded different, tired. Mia's business is struggling, she said. I listened, didn't interrupt. She's under a lot of stress. I waited. Maybe she expected help, advice, money. I said only one thing. I'm sorry to hear that. We hung up, and life moved on. Until year 5, the year everything changed. The 5th year didn't arrive with fireworks. It arrived quietly, like most things that actually change your life. By then, my company wasn't a side hustle anymore. It wasn't just me and Marcus working late nights with cheap coffee and whiteboards full of ideas. It was real. We had contracts with regional distributors. Mid-size companies brought us in when their operations were failing. When shipments were late, money was leaking, employees were burned out, and leadership didn't understand why everything felt broken. That's where we came in. We didn't promise miracles. We fixed systems. And fixing systems makes money. The bigger clients came slowly at first. Then all at once, one logistics company hired us for a full operational audit. 3 months later, they extended the contract for implementation. 6 months later, they referred us to 2 more firms. My calendar filled. Our team grew. Marcus became operations lead. I hired analysts, coordinators, a finance manager. We moved into a small office space. Nothing fancy. But I remember standing in the middle of it after everyone left, staring at the empty desks, and thinking. This started in a car. Meanwhile, I heard things about Mia. Not directly. Through relatives. Through social media silence. Through the absence of celebration. Her business still looked glamorous online. Beautiful product shots. Styled photos. But engagement dropped. Customer complaints popped up in comments. Still waiting for my order. No response from support. Product arrived damaged. The outside looked polished. Inside, things were collapsing. I knew the signs. Because I had built my company from the inside out. Operations first. Brand later. Mia did the opposite. Brand first. Everything else, assumed. Money can buy launch. It can't buy sustainability. I didn't reach out. Not out of bitterness. But because I knew something important. People don't accept help when they still think they're winning. They accept help when they finally realize they're losing. And she wasn't there yet. That year, we landed the biggest contract of my life. A national supply network. Warehouses across multiple states. Shipping delays costing millions. Leadership desperate. They didn't care about my age. They didn't care that I had started with nothing. They cared that I could fix what was broken. We worked like machines. 16-hour days. On-site visits. Process mapping. Rebuilding everything from the ground up. It was exhausting, but it worked. Within months, their delays dropped. Costs stabilized. Employee turnover slowed. They extended the contract, then doubled it. That project changed everything. Financially, reputation-wise, emotionally. For the first time, I allowed myself to think long-term. Not survival. Not next month. Years. That's when I started thinking about where I wanted to live. Not where I could afford. Where I actually wanted to be. And the answer came instantly. The ocean. I had always loved it. Even as a kid. The sound. The space. The calm. So I started looking. Not for a mansion. Not for status. For peace. After months of searching, I found it. A beachfront property. Modern but warm. Open windows. Wood floors. Sunlight pouring in from every direction. Waves visible from the living room. The price scared me. Not because I couldn't afford it. But because of what it represented. This wasn't survival. This was arrival. I bought it. Not as a trophy. As a promise. To myself. That everything I endured meant something. Around the same time, Mia's business officially started falling apart. I didn't hear it from her. I heard it from my mom. She called late one evening. Her voice was different, less confident. Mia's having a hard time, she said. I didn't speak right away. She had to let go of most of her staff. I closed my eyes. Orders, cash flow, inventory. I could already picture the dominoes. She's trying to hold things together, Mom continued. But it's difficult. That word carries so much weight when people don't want to say the truth. I kept my voice calm. I hope she figures it out. Mom waited. Silence stretched. Maybe she expected me to offer help. Advice. Money. A lifeline. But she didn't ask. And I didn't offer. Because this was her journey. The same way my struggle had been mine. We hung up. And that was it. A month later, Marcus walked into my office with news. "You're trending in industry circles," he said. I frowned. "What?" "That logistics overhaul. People are talking. You're becoming the guy companies call when things are falling apart." I leaned back in my chair. 5 years ago, I couldn't afford gas. Now businesses trusted me with their survival. Life moves strangely, painfully slow, then suddenly fast. The house was finished by early summer. I moved in quietly. No party, no announcement, just a few boxes, a couch, a desk, and the sound of waves. The first night there felt unreal. I sat on the back patio, barefoot, listening to the ocean. For the first time in years, there was no noise in my head, no pressure, no fear, just stillness. I thought about the car, the cold nights, the warehouse shifts, the rejections, the loneliness, and I realized something. None of it broke me. It built me. A few weeks later, I had a meeting in my parents' town. First time I'd been back in years. Driving through those streets felt strange. Familiar, but distant, like I was visiting a past version of myself. I passed my old house. Slowed without meaning to. Mia's car sat in the driveway. The boutique logo on the back had faded. The house looked smaller, quieter, older. I didn't stop, just kept driving, because some chapters don't need revisiting. 2 days later, I returned to the beach house after work. As I turned into the driveway, I noticed a car parked near the road. Familiar. My stomach tightened. I stepped out, and saw them, Mom, and Mia, standing near the front of the property. Mia turned first. Her eyes landed on me. Then the house. Then the ocean. She froze. Mom looked nervous, like she wasn't sure she should be there. I walked toward them slowly. Not angry, not welcoming, just present. Mia's face changed. Shock, confusion, then something else. Pain. Her eyes filled. She looked back at the house again. The ocean behind it, the quiet, the space, and suddenly, she broke. Full sobs, shoulders shaking. She turned toward Mom, voice cracking into a scream that echoed across the driveway. "Why does he get everything?" The sound hit hard, raw, unfiltered. It was supposed to be me. Mom tried to calm her. "It's not like that." "Yes it is," Mia shouted. "You said I was the one. You said I had the future. You said I was going to succeed." I stood there, still, letting the moment unfold. Mia pointed at me, tears streaming down her face. "He had nothing. He lived in his car. He had no money, no help, nothing." I finally spoke, quietly. "Yeah," I said, "I did." She stared at me, breathing uneven, anger fighting with grief. "My business is gone," she whispered. "Everything is gone." And for the first time, I didn't see my golden child sister. I saw a person who had hit rock bottom. The same place I once stood. Alone, terrified, unsure. And in that moment, I didn't feel superior. I felt understanding. Because failure teaches faster than money ever could. And she was finally learning. The hard way. Mom stepped forward, her voice soft. "We just wanted to see how you were doing." I nodded once. "I'm doing okay." Her eyes scanned the house. The property. The ocean. Regret flickered across her face. "We didn't know," she said quietly. I met her gaze. "You didn't ask." Silence fell. Heavy. Unavoidable. Mia wiped her face, staring at the ground. "I thought it would be easy," she said. "With the money." I didn't respond immediately. Then I said the truth. "It's never easy." She nodded slowly. I didn't know what I was doing. Most people don't at the start. She let out a broken laugh. "I wish someone told me." I almost said, "They told me by throwing me out." But I didn't. Because this moment wasn't about winning. It was about reality finally catching up. We stood there for a long time. Ocean waves crashing behind us. Wind moving through the air. 3 people, same family, different journeys, different scars. And for the first time, no roles, no golden child, no disappointment, just people trying to understand how everything turned out the way it did. And that was only the beginning of what would happen next. Because what came after her collapse changed all of us forever. Mia didn't leave right away that day. Neither did Mom. They stood in my driveway like they weren't sure what to do next, like they had walked into a version of my life they never expected to exist. The ocean stretched behind me, waves crashing, sunlight reflecting across the water. And for the first time in years, I realized something. They were seeing me, not the version they remembered, Not the kid who drifted, but the man I had become without them. Mia finally spoke, her voice smaller than I had ever heard it. You really live here? I nodded. Yeah. She looked at the house again. The wide windows, the deck, the calm. How long? A few months. Mom swallowed. You bought this, yourself? Yes. No investors. No inheritance. No safety net. Just work. She looked like she wanted to say something else but couldn't find the words. Mia sat down on the edge of the driveway, staring at the ground. I lost everything, she said quietly. Not dramatic, not loud, just truth. How bad? I asked. She laughed weakly. Bad enough that I had to move back home. The words hung in the air. Move back home. The same home they had pushed me out of. The irony didn't need to be spoken. Mom looked embarrassed. It's temporary, she said quickly. Mia didn't respond, because we all knew, temporary, sometimes means, we don't know what happens next. I leaned against my car. What happened? I asked. And that's when the truth started coming out. Not all at once, but piece by piece, like a dam cracking. I had the branding, Mia said. The marketing, the launch, influencers, everything looked perfect. She paused, but I didn't understand operations. Inventory mismanagement, overspending on packaging, hiring people she couldn't afford long-term, shipping delays, customer service backlog, refunds piling up, money bleeding slowly, then all at once. I thought the $1 million would carry me, she admitted. I thought it meant I couldn't fail. I nodded once. Money can start something. It can't sustain something. That money ran out faster than I expected, she continued. Then I started borrowing, trying to save the brand. Fix things, loans, credit lines, desperate marketing pushes. Nothing worked. The brand image stayed shiny. But behind the scenes, everything collapsed. When it finally hit, she said, it hit all at once. Staff gone, orders unfulfilled, suppliers demanding payment, reputation damaged, end of the business. Silence settled between us. The waves filled the space. I didn't feel satisfaction. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt familiar. Because I knew that feeling. The moment everything falls apart. The moment you realize no one is coming to save you. I had just faced it earlier. Alone. Mia wiped her eyes again. I really thought I was going to be successful, she whispered. You still can be, I said. She looked up, confused. After this, especially after this, Mom looked between us, surprised. Like she expected bitterness, resentment. Instead, there was calm. Because life had already humbled me once. And I didn't need to watch it humble someone else just to feel better. We moved inside. It felt strange having them there. Not bad, just unfamiliar. Mom walked slowly through the living room, touching the back of a chair like she was grounding herself. You built all this, she said. Yes. How? I thought about that question. There wasn't a simple answer. I kept going, I said. Even when it sucked. Even when I wanted to quit. Even when no one believed in me. She nodded slowly. Mia stood near the window, looking at the ocean. I used to think success came from opportunity, she said quietly. And now, she let out a breath. Now I think it comes from pressure. I smiled slightly. That's part of it. We sat down. For the first time in years. Not as a broken family. Just people talking. Mom finally said the thing she had been holding back. We made mistakes. The words were soft, but heavy. I didn't react immediately. Because apologies don't erase the past. They acknowledge it. And sometimes that's enough. We thought we were helping Mia, she continued. She had a clear vision. Confidence. Drive. And I didn't. I asked calmly. She hesitated. You were quieter. You didn't talk about big plans. You just worked. Dad's voice echoed in my head. You drift. I exhaled slowly. I didn't drift, I said. I just didn't perform ambition. I built it quietly. Mom looked down. Regret clear. I see that now. Mia spoke suddenly. I never asked for you to be kicked out. I looked at her. I know. I thought they were just pushing you to grow. I didn't think you'd end up living in your car. Her voice cracked. I didn't know how bad it was. I didn't tell anyone. Why? Because pride. Because pain. Because I didn't want pity. Because I had to prove it to myself first, I said. She nodded slowly. That answer made sense to her. Because now, she was in the same place. Trying to rebuild herself without shortcuts. The conversation shifted. From the past, to the future. What happens now? Mom asked Mia. She shrugged. I don't know. I'm looking for work. Something stable. That word hit her hard. Stable. She had gone from entrepreneur with $1 million backing. To starting over. Just like me. Life has a strange sense of balance. Mom looked at me carefully. I know we don't have the right to ask, she said slowly, but, could you guide her? Just advice. Nothing else. There it was. The moment I knew would come. Not money. Not rescue. Guidance. I looked at Mia. She didn't look entitled. Didn't look demanding. She looked humbled. I won't fund anything, I said calmly. Mom nodded quickly. Of course. But I'll help you understand what went wrong, I continued. And how to rebuild. Mia's eyes filled again. Not with sadness this time. With relief. Really? Yes. She whispered, thank you. And just like that, something shifted. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, but a step. Small, real, human. They left that evening. Mom hugged me before getting in the car. The first hug in years. Awkward, emotional, necessary. Mia paused before leaving. I used to think you were lucky, she said. I tilted my head. And now, she gave a small, tired smile. Now I know you were strong. I watched them drive away. Standing in the driveway, ocean behind me, wind moving through the air. And I realized something I hadn't expected. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need validation. I didn't need them to admit I was right. Because I had already built the life I wanted. And helping her rebuild hers didn't take anything away from me. It just proved how far I'd come. But I didn't know yet that helping Mia would lead to the biggest challenge of my life. Not business, not money, family. Because once the truth starts coming out, it doesn't stop. And the next truth would change everything I thought I knew about my parents. Week passed before I saw them again. In that time, life didn't slow down. Clients still called. Deadlines still stacked. My team still needed direction. But something in my mind kept circling back to that day in the driveway. Mia breaking down, Mom looking lost, and the strange feeling that our story wasn't finished yet. I was right, because the next chapter didn't come from Mia. It came from my dad. He called on a Tuesday evening. The first time I had heard his voice in nearly 5 years. I stared at the phone before answering. For a second, I almost let it ring out. But I picked up. Hello. Silence. Then his voice. Older. Rougher. Hey. Not, son. Not my name. Just, hey. Hey, I replied. Another pause. I heard you're doing well. I'm working. He let out a small breath. Your mother showed me the house. Of course she did. Dad wasn't the type to visit first. He observed from a distance. I wanted to see you, he said. That sentence surprised me. Not because he said it. Because he meant it. When? I asked. Tomorrow, if that's all right. I thought about it, then said, okay. He arrived the next afternoon. No dramatic entrance. No emotional moment. Just his car pulling into the driveway. He stepped out slowly, looking around like he was trying to understand how everything had changed without him noticing. I met him at the door. We stood face to face. 5 years of distance sitting between us. You look good, he said. So do you. That wasn't entirely true. He looked older, more tired, but I didn't say that. We walked inside. He didn't comment on the house at first. Just looked around quietly, taking it in. Finally, he sat down. Hands clasped together, like he had rehearsed something and forgotten the script. I didn't come here to ask for anything, he said. I didn't think you did. He nodded. I came because I think I owe you the truth. That caught my attention. The truth about what? He leaned back slightly, exhaling. About that day, when we gave Mia the money. I stayed silent, let him talk. We thought we were investing in her, he said. She was confident, charismatic. She spoke like someone who already saw the future. And me, he hesitated. You were different. How? You didn't talk about big dreams. You didn't make noise. You just worked quietly. That was a problem. At the time, he admitted, I thought it meant you lacked drive. The irony almost made me laugh. I thought I was pushing you, he continued. Forcing you out would make you fight. I looked at him carefully. You didn't just push me. You cut me off. He nodded slowly. I know. Silence settled. Then he said something I didn't expect. That $1 million wasn't the real problem. I frowned. What do you mean? He looked down at his hands. The problem was fear. Fear. He nodded. I was afraid you'd stay comfortable. Afraid you'd settle. Afraid you'd never test yourself. I let that sink in. So your solution was to remove my safety net. Yes. I shook my head slightly. That's not guidance. That's survival pressure. I know that now, he said quietly. The room went still. Because that was the first time he admitted being wrong. Not defensively. Not indirectly. Directly. I didn't realize how hard it would be, he continued. I thought you'd struggle, but land on your feet quickly. I almost smiled. There is nothing quick about starting from nothing. I didn't know you lived in your car, he said. I met his eyes. You didn't ask. He flinched slightly. Fair. I thought, if I stepped in, it would weaken you, he said. So I stayed out. And Mia, he sighed. We protected her too much. There it was. The real truth. Not favoritism. Imbalance. He leaned forward. I didn't just give her money, he admitted. I shielded her from consequences. Every time something went wrong early, I stepped in quietly. Covered costs. Solved issues. Smoothed things over. I felt a slow realization forming. You delayed her learning curve, I said. Yes. And when the money ran out, she hit reality all at once. Now it made sense. Her collapse wasn't sudden. It was delayed, like pressure building behind a wall. Eventually, it had to break. Dad looked around the house again. You learned early, he said. The hard way. I had no choice. He nodded. I thought hardship would break you. And now, I see it built you. We sat in silence for a moment. Then he said something that shifted everything. I'm not proud of how I handled it. That sentence landed heavy. Because my dad wasn't a man who apologized easily. Not openly. Not emotionally. I thought I was preparing you for the world, he continued. But I didn't realize, the world doesn't come at you all at once. It hits in waves, and I gave you the whole storm. I exhaled slowly. The anger I had carried for years, softened. Not gone, but understood. Because intention matters, even when execution fails. And now, I asked. He looked straight at me. Now I want to know you. Not as a child, not as a project, as a person. That was new, and strange, and honest. We talked for hours. About business, about mistakes, about pressure, about fear. Not as father and son locked in old roles, but as two men comparing scars. Before leaving, he paused near the door. I don't expect forgiveness, he said. I just wanted to stop pretending I did everything right. I nodded. That's a start. He gave a small, tired smile. Then left. That night, I sat on the back deck, watching the ocean. Thinking about everything he said, about everything I survived, about everything Mia was now going through. And I realized something important. The $1 million was never the real issue. The real issue was how differently we were prepared for life. I was thrown into the deep end. She was kept in shallow water. Both hurt, in different ways, and both shaped who we became. 2 days later, Mia called. Her voice sounded steadier. I've been thinking, she said, about rebuilding, not another brand, something real this time. What kind of real? I asked. Operations, she said quietly. Learning what I ignored. I smiled slightly. Good place to start. Will you teach me? I didn't answer immediately. Then I said, I'll guide you. But I won't carry you. I don't want to be carried, she replied. For the first time in years, I believed her. And that's when I realized the story wasn't about success anymore. It wasn't about proving anyone wrong. It was about what happens after failure. After truth. After reality strips everything down. Because rebuilding is harder than building from scratch. And what Mia didn't know yet was that her second journey would be far more brutal than her first. But this time, she wouldn't be protected, and that would change her forever. Mia started over the following Monday. No big announcement, no launch plan, no glossy branding or influencer campaigns. Just a plain notebook, a cheap laptop, and a question she wasn't used to asking. Where do I even begin? I didn't give her a roadmap. I gave her reality. You don't start as a founder, I told her. You start as a worker. She nodded, nervous but determined. What does that mean? It means you learn how businesses actually function before you try to lead one again. And for the first time in her life, Mia agreed without arguing. I placed her in one of our client warehouses. Not as an executive, not as a consultant, entry-level operations assistant, inventory checks, shipment tracking, data entry, process observation. No one there knew who she was. No one cared. To them, she was just another employee. That was intentional. The first day broke her confidence fast. I got a call that night. Her voice sounded drained. This is harder than I thought. What part? I asked. All of it, she admitted. It's repetitive. It's messy. People get frustrated. Systems fail. Nothing looks like the clean business models I used to picture. I smiled slightly. Welcome to operations. She was quiet for a moment. I feel stupid, she said. That word carried weight. Good, I replied. She paused. Good. Feeling stupid means you're finally learning. Silence. Then a small exhale. Okay. The weeks that followed were rough. Mia wasn't used to being corrected, or ignored, or treated like she didn't know what she was doing. Because the truth was, she didn't. Workers snapped at her when shipments were wrong. Managers expected her to figure things out without hand-holding. No one cared about her past business. No one cared about the $1 million. All that mattered was whether she could do the job. And for the first time in her life, her performance determined her value. Not her confidence, not her image, not her backing, her effort. 3 weeks in, she almost quit. She called late at night. I don't think I'm cut out for this, she said. Why? I keep making mistakes, slowing people down, asking dumb questions. Do you remember your first month running your business? I asked. She sighed. Yes, you made mistakes then too. But I was in charge. That didn't mean you knew what you were doing. Silence. Then she whispered. I understand now. What those 5 years must have felt like for you. That sentence hit harder than anything else she had said. Because it meant she finally saw it. Not the success, the struggle, the doubt, the loneliness. I'm not there yet, she continued. But I can feel it. The pressure, the uncertainty, the constant feeling that if I don't improve, I fall behind. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. That's the grind. She took a breath. I'm not quitting. Good. Month 2 changed her. The complaints stopped bothering her. She started asking better questions. Observing patterns, noticing inefficiencies, small things at first, shipment timing, inventory layout, communication gaps between teams. She began writing everything down. Not ideas, problems, real ones, and slowly, solutions. She didn't pitch them, she tested them quietly, adjusted workflows, simplified tracking, helped coworkers reduce errors. No announcements, no spotlight, just impact. That's when the warehouse manager called me. "Where did you find her?" he asked. I smiled. "She's figuring it out. She's sharp," he said. "Rough at first, but she learns fast." I didn't tell him she used to run $1 million startup, because that version of her wasn't relevant anymore. This one was. By month 3, Mia stopped calling to complain. She called to share insights. "There's a pattern in delayed shipments," she said one evening. "It's not the drivers, it's how orders are batched." Another time, "The return process is broken. No one owns it. Everyone passes responsibility." Another, "Half the errors come from unclear communication between day and night shifts." She was seeing the system now. Not the surface, the machinery underneath, the part she ignored before. And I knew something important had happened. She stopped chasing success. She started understanding work. At home, things changed too. Mom stopped treating her like she was fragile. Dad stopped giving unsolicited advice. Not because they didn't care, but because they saw she was rebuilding. The hard way, the right way. One evening, Mia told me something that stuck. "I used to think you were lucky for surviving those 5 years," she said. "And now, I think you were forged." That word sat heavy. Forged. Pressure. Heat. Time. Transformation. She was beginning to feel it herself. Month 4 brought her first real breakthrough. Not a promotion, not recognition, respect. A senior employee, someone who had worked there for over a decade, started asking her for input. Not politely, not ceremoniously, casually, like she belonged. That mattered more than any title. Because respect in operations isn't given. It's earned through consistency, through showing up, through solving problems instead of talking about them. And Mia was finally doing that. She came over one weekend, sat on the back deck, staring at the ocean. No breakdown this time, no jealousy, just thoughtfulness. "I used to hate this place," she admitted. "Why?" "Because it represented everything I lost. And now," she smiled faintly, "now it represents what's possible if I keep going." I nodded. "That's the right way to see it." She looked at me. "You never hated me, did you?" The question caught me off guard. I thought about it, all the anger, all the resentment, all the years of silence. Then I answered honestly. "No," I said. "I hated what happened, not you." Her eyes softened. "I hated you for a while," she admitted. "Fair. I thought you were the favorite. The strong one. The one who always landed on his feet." I shook my head. "I didn't land. I crawled." She laughed softly. "I see that now." We sat in silence for a moment. Then she said something that changed everything. "I don't want to build a brand again." "What do you want?" "I want to build something useful." That was the first truly mature ambition she had ever expressed. Not glamorous, not flashy, useful. And that's when I knew. She was ready, not for success, for responsibility. But life wasn't done testing her. Because growth always comes with a new challenge. And the next one would shake our entire family again. Not money, not business, health. And when that happened, everything we thought mattered suddenly felt small.
The call came at 2:17 a.m. I woke up to my phone vibrating on the nightstand, the screen lighting up the dark room. Dad. He never called at night. I answered immediately. "Hello." His voice sounded tight, controlled, but strained underneath. "It's your mom." My chest tightened. "What happened?" She collapsed. Everything in me went still. "Where are you?" "Hospital. They're running tests." I was already out of bed, grabbing my keys. "I'm on my way." Hospitals erase everything else in life. Titles don't matter. Money doesn't matter. Success doesn't matter. All that matters is whether the person you love is okay. The drive felt endless. When I arrived, Mia was already there, sitting in the waiting area, hands clasped so tightly her knuckles were pale. She looked up when she saw me. Her eyes were red. She just fainted, she said quickly, like she needed to reassure herself as much as me. "They think it's stress, maybe exhaustion." Dad stood near the window, silent. The strong, unshakable version of him looked smaller. We waited. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, a doctor came out. "She's stable," he said. "But she's been under significant strain. Her blood pressure spiked. Severe fatigue. She needs rest and lifestyle changes." The tension in the room cracked. Not gone, but loosened. We saw her briefly after. She looked tired, smaller somehow, but she smiled when she saw us. "I'm fine," she said. We all knew she wasn't. But she was here, and that was enough. That night changed something, not dramatically, Quietly. Because when you almost lose someone, everything else rearranges itself. Priorities shift. Old anger loses its grip. Resentment feels heavy and pointless. Family becomes real again. Not perfect, not ideal, but real. Over the next few weeks, we started seeing each other more. Not for dramatic conversations, for simple things. Dinner, checking in, sitting together. Life slowed down around Mom. Dad cooked more. Mia balanced work and helping at home. And I showed up, not as the distant son, not as the one who left, just as family. One evening, I found Dad sitting alone in the backyard. He looked up as I approached. She scared me, he admitted. I know, he nodded slowly. I spent years focused on building security, stability, providing for everyone. He paused, and I forgot. Presence matters too. I sat beside him. Neither of us spoke for a while. Then he said something I didn't expect. I thought success meant control, predictability, planning every outcome. And now I realize, you can't plan health, time, people, you just appreciate them while they're here. I nodded, because that lesson, no amount of money teaches it. Mia changed during this time too. Not just at work, at home. She became quieter, more attentive, less reactive. She listened more than she spoke. One night, while helping Mom organize medications, she said something that stuck with me. I spent years chasing success like it was a race, she said. I thought if I didn't win first, I failed. And now I think success is being able to show up when it matters. That was growth, real growth, not business, not ambition, character. A few months later, Mom recovered well. Doctor visits stabilized, energy slowly returned, and with her health improving, life began moving forward again. But not the same way. Better, more grounded, less performative, more honest. Around that time, Mia got an offer. The warehouse she worked at wanted to promote her. Not into leadership, into operations coordination. More responsibility, more pressure, more visibility. She came to me before accepting. I'm scared, she admitted. Good, she laughed softly. You always say that, because fear means you care. She looked at me seriously. Do you think I'm ready? I thought about her first day. Her breakdowns, her persistence, her growth. Yes, I said, not because you know everything, but because you're willing to learn what you don't. She nodded slowly. I want to do it right this time. You will. Months passed. She stepped into the role and handled it, not perfectly, but steadily. Mistakes happened. She corrected them. Pressure built. She adapted. For the first time in her life, her confidence came from competence, not belief, not image, skill, experience, reality. One evening, she came over again. We sat on the deck like before, ocean stretching endlessly in front of us. I used to think this house meant you won, she said. And now, she smiled. Now I think it means you endured. I laughed softly. That's more accurate. She looked out at the water. I don't want your life, she said. That surprised me. You don't. No, I want mine. Earned, built slowly, without shortcuts. That was the final shift. She wasn't comparing anymore. She wasn't measuring herself against me. She was building her own path. And that's when I realized. The jealousy was gone, replaced by respect, mutual, earned, quiet. A year later, everything felt different. Not perfect, but aligned. Mom healthy, Dad softer, Mia stable and growing, me continuing to expand the company. We weren't competing anymore. We were coexisting, supporting, living. One Sunday, we all gathered at my place. No special reason, just dinner. Laughter filled the house. Dad arguing with Mia over cooking techniques. Mom smiling more than I had seen in years. And I sat there, watching it all, realizing something powerful. 5 years ago, we broke, completely. Now, we rebuilt, not the same, better, because it was honest, hard-earned, real. Later that night, as they were leaving, Mia paused at the door. She turned back toward me. Thank you, she said. For what? For not giving up on me, even when I didn't deserve your patience. I shook my head. You did deserve it. You just needed to find your way first. She smiled, then left. I stood there, watching their car disappear down the road. Ocean behind me, wind moving softly, and I thought back to that moment 5 years earlier. Standing in the driveway of my parents' house. Being told I was wasting space. If I could go back, I wouldn't change it, because that pain built everything. Not just success, strength, understanding, family, and the realization that life doesn't reward who gets the most help. It rewards who keeps going after the help disappears. And in the end, that $1 million was never the story. The real story was this. One person was protected, one person was pushed, both fell, both learned, both rebuilt, and finally, both understood what it really takes to earn a life you're proud of. Not money, not validation, not being chosen, but showing up, again and again, even when no one is watching, even when no one believes, even when you're starting from nothing. That's how everything changes. That's how you stop wasting space and start building a life that no one can take away from you.